God writes the most beautiful love stories. He made his intention known. I can just imagine how tragic and how frail and unhappy and sad and angry she must have been. She was not only leaving her home country, she's leaving her religion, she's leaving everything that she's familiar with. Welcome to the second episode of the TTTP podcast.
Over again, I give my life. Over again, I give my soul.
Shall be my people and your God shall be my God. I'm sure that we have all heard these words if you've ever attended a Christian wedding or you've been at the gathering where they're talking about marriage. These are vows that are verbatim from the scriptures, and it was said by a young lady who had just recently lost her husband to her mother-in-law, because at the time her mother-in-law was urging her to leave and go be with somebody else and go have a life. And these were our words: your God is going to be my God and your people my people. And today we're going to discuss the story of that young lady. It's a story about redemption. It's a story of love. It's a beautiful story from the scripture. I'm talking about none other than Ruth, the great-grandmother of David. Today, I'm going to be talking extensively on the story of Ruth. It's a story of love. It's a story of tragedy, but it didn't end as a tragedy. Matter of fact, it went on to be a story about redemption. There's so many things that you would, want to highlight from that story. We're going to start with chapter 1, and that's the breakdown of how Ruth even came to be in. How, before we even get to Ruth, there is a story that preceded the story of Ruth. Now, it's the story of a man called Elimelech. Elimelech is from Bethlehem. He's a married man with 2 sons. The name of his sons are Mahlon and Chilion, and the name of his wife is Naomi. So there was famine in the land in Bethlehem, which is strange because the meaning of Bethlehem is the house of bread. But at the time, there was famine in Bethlehem, so they decided as a family that we're going to relocate to Moab. And they did. As a family of 4, they moved to Moab. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife was Naomi, and the names of their 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion, Ephraimites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they went to the country of Moab and remained there. Then Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with 2 sons. Now they took wives of the women of Moab. The name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth, and they dwelt there for about 10 years. Then both Mahlon and Chilion also died. So the women survived her 2 sons and a husband. Very tragic story in the beginning, live in a country because you're seeking greener pasture. So Naomi and her husband decided they were going to move to Moab, which they did with their 2 sons. Unfortunately, Elimelech, which is Naomi's husband, sadly passed away. And unfortunately, after our 2 sons got married, they died as well. Now, the Bible didn't really tell us which of the sons married Orpah or which one married Ruth. We're just told in the first chapter of the book of Ruth that they both married Ruth and Orpah. Now, these 2 women are foreigners. Remember that Naomi is a Bethlehemite with her husband. They moved to Moab to seek greener pastures. So obviously the women they married in Moab are foreigners. It's like moving from the United States to, let's say, Brazil, for an example, and then you marry 2 Brazilian women. At some point, words got back to Ruth that there is now food in Bethlehem. So she decided that, there is nothing going on for her in Moab anyway. She's lost her husband, she's lost her 2 sons, and now she's just by herself. Tragic, by the way. So she decided she was going to return back to her home country. She was going to go back to Bethlehem and, go fend for herself and find something and do whatever, probably die there. Verse 8 of chapter 1, go, return each to your mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each in the house of your husbands. So she kissed them and they lift up their voices and wept. And they said to her, surely we will return with you. So at this point, despite the fact that she's urged them at this point that, you have my blessing, go back to your parents' house, go have children, go get married, go have a life. Because I'm too old. I'm too old. I can't have children anymore that you can say you're gonna get married to. So there is no hope, really. There is no hope. the best thing is for you to just go back to your parents' house and, find your bearing from there. Everybody should go and answer their father's name. You can tell from their response to her that they loved her, because the two of them decided that, oh, no, we're not going to go. We're going to be with you. We're going to stay here with you. After much persuasion, the Bible made us understand that she persuaded them that, please, really, from my heart, I release you. Go be with your family. Go live your life. You're still young. One of the wives, Orpah, decided that, okay, no harm, no foul. She packed her stuff and, she was gone. But the second girl, which was Ruth, decided that she was not going to leave that woman by herself. Because let's be honest, what's the lot of a woman who had 2 sons, and after having her 2 sons, her 2 sons are dead, she's now a widow. According to her, she's old, she can't have children anymore, so there's no hope of getting married to another husband. She just wanted to go back to Bethlehem so she's able to, feed herself, be well, and then probably die there. That is when Ruth now responded, saying, entreat me not to leave you or turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I'll go, and wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me and more also, if anything but death parts you and me. Oh my God, that is such thoughtfulness, such faithfulness, that you know what, you can persuade me from now till tomorrow, you can persuade me from now till eternity. I'm gonna go with you no matter what happens, whatever the case may be. We're gonna go back to Bethlehem together. Your God will be my God, your people will be my people. We're gonna be there, we're gonna grow old together. You stuck with me now. And I can only imagine, how painful it was for her. She's a young woman, obviously. She was only married for 10 years, and sadly she has lost her husband, she's lost her brother-in-law, she's lost her father-in-law, and now her sister-in-law too has gone back to be with her own family. So it's just that level of, giving, faithfulness, that she decided that, you know what, no matter what the case may be, I will go with this woman, and I'm going to grow old with this woman, and our God will be my God. And I think the reason why the Bible highlights the my God will be your God part of it is because, again, she's a foreign woman, and this woman, Naomi, is a Bethlehemite, and they have they serve the God of Israel. And she, being a foreign woman, have their own gods. They grew up knowing a different kind of God, serving a different kind of God. So she was not only living her home country, she's living her religion, she's living everything that she's familiar with, her environment, her life, everything, her friends, her family, everything that she was familiar with. This is what she grew up in. This is what she knew all her life. She's saying, you know what? I will leave it all behind. I will follow you. And we're just going to figure it out when we get to Bethlehem. Have at the back of your mind that she's never been to Bethlehem. She doesn't know what waits for her in Bethlehem. She probably doesn't even speak their language. You know what I mean? It's such a big risk, but she was willing to do that, to just be with this woman. I think out of compassion for her, that, she's going to go to Bethlehem by herself, and she's just going to be alone by herself and probably be depressed, that let me just go with her, let me just go with her. When they got back to Bethlehem, people, they welcomed Naomi. They were so pleased to see her. They haven't seen her for so long. And, out of pain and grief, she just said to them, you know what? Don't call me Ruth, call me Mara, because God has dealt with me. She was just expressing, the amount of loss. I can just imagine how tragic and how frail and unhappy and sad and angry she must have been, having left her home country with her whole family and returning back empty-handed with nothing but a daughter-in-law. So Ruth has taken it upon herself to be the breadwinner, because obviously they don't have any roots back in Bethlehem, so they're gonna have to start from scratch and start to the family, whatever they want to, they have to find a place to live. She has to get a job so she can fend for herself, and a mother-in-law. Note that at this time she wasn't returning as a person that is going to Bethlehem to go look for a husband. She was just going there to be the daughter, to be the person for her mother-in-law, which means she's gonna have to get a job to be able to cater for herself, and a mother-in-law to be able to take care of the family. So the burden of the care of the two of them is now on her. It's not on her to feed the family. It's not on her to, take care of the household and everything. Now, chapter 2. In chapter 2, that is where Ruth meets Boaz. There was a relative of Naomi's husband, a man of great wealth, a family of Elimelech. That is Naomi's late husband. His name was Boaz. So Ruth the Moabitess said to Naomi, please let me go to the field and glean heads of grain after him in whose sight I may find favor. And she said to her, go, my daughter. Then she left and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the family of Elimelech. Now behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said to the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered, the Lord bless you. Then Boaz said to his servants, who was in charge of the reapers, whose young woman is that? So the servants who was in charge of the reapers answered and said, it is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab. Please let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and has continued from morning until now, although she rested a little in the house. Then Boaz said to Ruth, you will listen, my daughter, will you not? Do not go to glean in another field, nor go from here, but stay close by my young women. Let their eyes be on the field which they reap, and go after them. Have I not commanded the young men not to touch you? And when you thirsty, go in the vessels and drink from the young men. So obviously, even from a demeanor, from a response to Boaz, because as the story unfolds, we'll see that Boaz took a liking to her. But at first, Boaz was just being, generally being a nice person. That, I heard, I've heard the story of, what happened to you and how you've come back with your mother-in-law. But you know what? You don't have to look around for jobs. You don't have to go around the fields to look for a place to glean. You can just stay here and work for us. And, I've commanded the men on the field that they should, take great care of you. And you don't have to look for food during your lunch hour. This is me paraphrasing. You don't have to look for food during your lunch hour. Whatever food they already have lined up, you can just eat from it. Whatever water they have lined up for lunch, you can just take from it. So basically, this part is just trying to tell us the kind of person Boaz is. He's not just a good boss, he's also generally a kind person. Like, you know what it means when you're the boss, you're the owner of the place, and then you go there, you see a new worker, and you're like, okay, so who is this girl? Who is this new person? And the people that are working there obviously explain to Boaz that, so this is the girl that came with Naomi from Moab. She works here. She's been here since morning, although she rested a little bit, but she's been hard. They're giving him report that she's a hardworking girl. Boaz said this to her, the Lord repay your work, and a full reward be given to you by the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings you have come for refuge. Then she said back to Boaz, let me find favor in your sight, my Lord, for you have comforted me, and you have spoken kindly to your maidservants, though I am not like one of the maidservants. Now Boaz said to her, at mealtime, come here and eat of the bread, and dip your piece of bread in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he passed parched grain to her, and she ate, and she was satisfied, and kept some back. And when she rose up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. Also, let grain from the bundles fall purposely for her. Leave it that she may glean, and do not Let me tell you something. When it comes to marriage, when it comes to love, one of the things, like I said in the first episode, by the way, if you haven't seen the first episode, please go ahead and watch it. I talk a little bit about the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and how their story, unfolded, and how they became one. And you can also please subscribe, like the video, and share. It will mean a lot to me if you can leave a comment as well. Let me know what you think of these videos. You can just tell what a good and stand-up man Boaz is. He's a boss. He's the owner of the company. He didn't have to be nice to her. He didn't have to do all of that. But as a good man that he is, that the Bible, told us that he was, he wasn't just kind to her. It wasn't just a matter of, hey, how you doing? Good job, well done, continue. He took time to speak with the people that work there. That, you know what? Just by listening to a story, he had compassion and love for her. That, you know what, let her not work too much. Whatever she does is fine. Let her eat some of our food. Let her drink. Let her take as much as she wants with her as she's going. And let her rest if she wants to. Matter of fact, don't let her, do all the tedious work. Whatever already falls to the ground, let her work with that. It was just trying to be kind to her and everything. And that is good. And that is one of the things that you must look at when you whether you're dating, you want to be in a relationship with a person, you want to be sure that this person you want to be in a relationship with is a kind person. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to gauge the person's character. This woman that we're talking about is obviously a good woman. You can see how she sacrificed herself to be there for her mother-in-law, despite that her husband has passed on. She is a good woman, very hardworking. And hearing her story, Boaz decided that, you know what, I'm going to be nice to her as well. And her mother-in-law said to her, where have you gleaned today? And where did you work? Blessed be the one who took notice of you. So she told her mother-in-law with whom she had worked and said, the man's name with whom I've worked today is Boaz. Again, that speaks to her honesty. She didn't have anything to hide. You can tell that they both have a great relationship. Like, she went to work and came back, and this is her just divulging all the information and just telling her mother-in-law everything that happened. This is the man that I went to work for, and this is what happened on the field. Then Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, blessed be to the Lord, who has not forsaken his kindness to the living and the dead. And Naomi said to her, this man is a relation of ours, one of our close relatives. Ruth the Moabitess said, he also said to me, you shall stay close by my young men until they have finished all my harvest. And Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that you go out with his young women, and that people do not meet you in any other field. So she stayed close to the young women of Boaz to glean until the end of barley harvest and wheat harvest, and she dwelt with her mother-in-law. Do you notice how whenever Naomi addresses Ruth, she always referred to her as my daughter, not my daughter-in-law, my daughter? Because at this point, I believe that Naomi has loved her so much that she has taken her as her own child. So she would just call her a daughter, my daughter this, my daughter that. Don't you wish for a mother-in-law like that? I know that I want a mother-in-law like that. When I get married, I want to have a mother that will see me as not just the wife of a child, but as a daughter as well. And as a lady, that is one thing to pray about, to hope to God for. That number one, you want to be the kind of daughter-in-law that your mother-in-law can see as her own child. And it's not just about relationships, it's not just talks, it's not just words, it's through her action. It's the way she treated this woman in the first place that gave the woman, the love and the joy to be able to call her daughter. So if you're a young lady and you're praying to God that, Lord, please give me a good mother-in-law, let me marry from a good family that is going to love me like their own person, you, the lady as well, make sure that you also put in the effort and you pray to God that God should give you the kind of character that is going to make them, see you as one of them. Because all these things boils down to character. They may be good people, they may be bad people, but it ultimately comes down to, who are you? What kind of person are you? What kind of character do you have? What kind of character have you shown those people? What kind of love have you extended to these people? You can't just require them to love you just because you married their child. It will be nice, but it will also be nicer if you present yourself as a daughter to them as opposed to a daughter-in-law. Not that you're going to the person you're about to marry, you're going to their house, battle ready. If my mother-in-law does this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to show her. Honey, trust me, it's a war you're never going to win. There's no point. I think it is an absence of thought or lack of, thought process to think that you're going to go marry somebody and you're going to pick up a fight or ultimately not love them genuinely, and you expect them to give you that kind of love that you never extended in the first place. If you want your mother-in-law to be kind, be the kind daughter-in-law. Be the kind daughter-in-law. Make her comfortable. Don't see her as a competition. Don't treat her as a competition. Look at the way, Ruth relates to Naomi, like her own mother. If that was your mother and she's lost a child, would you abandon her? Would you leave her to go find for herself? Would you leave her to go and die? So she obviously stretched out that hand of love in the first place, and now Naomi has absorbed her as a daughter. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? Like, am I not going to wish you well, want something good for you?" Now, Boaz, whose young women you were with, is he not our relative? In fact, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Therefore, wash yourself and anoint yourself. Put on the best garments and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. Then it shall be, when he lies down, that you shall notice the place where he lies, and then you shall go in, uncover his feet, and lie down there, and he will tell you what you should do. And she said to her, "All that you say to me, I will do." Like, I'm reading the book of Ruth, and I'm thinking to myself, Tofmi, you have to be that girl. Like, the humility, the humility, she's so grounded. You know, she didn't think she's wise in her own eyes. She didn't just see this woman as a mother. She also sees her as a mentor. Like, she said to the woman, "Whatever you say, I will do." Whether it makes sense to me or not, whether it's something that I want to do or not, I believe instinctively that you want the best for me, that you're wiser as an older woman, that you know better, you know the terrain of this place, you know the premises of this place, you know what to do. And everything that her mother-in-law told her, she did it. She humbled herself. And after Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was cheerful, he went to lay down at the end of the heap of grain. And she came softly, uncovered his feet, lay down. Now it happened at midnight that the man was startled, turned himself, and there a woman was laying at his feet. And he said, "Who are you?" So she answered, "I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing, for you are a close relative." Then he said, "Blessed are you of the Lord, my daughter, for you have shown more kindness at the end than at the beginning, in that you did not go after young men, whether poor or rich." He, despite being our boss, could attest to the fact that she's a girl of good moral and character. Like, I've watched you, I've seen you work on my field, I've noticed you, I've paid attention to see that you're not one of those girls that run after young, other men, whether poor or rich. Like, I can see that you're grounded, that you are well behaved. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you request. For all the people of my town know that you're a virtuous woman. So now he's saying that, despite I have noticed you, I've paid attention to you, I can attest to the fact that you're a girl of good character. But ultimately, everyone in this town have seen you as well. They've noticed you. They've paid enough attention. They've watched you. They can attest to the fact that you're a good girl. You have good character. That you're a virtuous woman. There are women that I think they have potentially even lost the man that God wants them to get married to because of lack of character. Because of lack of character, sometimes when I meet some ladies and they are very urban, they're very well exposed, so to say, and the way they present themselves, they are brash with their words. They are very, they are abrupt. They will cut you off. They have response for everything. They're very snappy. They're very, sweetie, some things are cute when you do them when you're 15. Some things are cute when you do them at the age of 20. But when you get to a certain age, there's a level of maturity that have to come from within. There's a level of maturity that you have to have. There's a mindset shift that have to happen to you. There's a character building. There's a knowledge that you have to have as a woman. And this has nothing to do with parading yourself for marriage, but it has everything to do with the kind of woman that you want to be. Do you want to, because at the end of the day, some people will say, I don't care what people think. Honey, you want to care. Believe me, you want to care. You want to care what people think of you. It matters what people think of you. There's a pastor that used to say that who hates you does not matter, but who love you matters. It matters that somebody of good character can say, "Oh, I know that girl, she has good character. Oh, I know Tofumi Olanio, oh no, she dresses well. Oh, I know Tofumi Olanio, she's well behaved." It matters a lot. It matters that somebody can can say that, oh, she has been kind to me. Somebody can put in a good word for you. It matters all around, whether it's for marriage, whether it's for a good job, whether it's for any opportunity at all. You want to live a life that not only you want to live a life that impacts people, that leaves such a good impression on people, that people can attest to the fact that you're a good person. Boaz, at this point, I'm going to assume, this is me speculating, I'm going to assume that at this point, because the Bible didn't tell us that Boaz was married, so obviously he's a man that was given to his business. He's doing what, he's very diligent at what he does. He has a big, huge field. So think of him as a successful businessman that is probably older, a lot more older than Ruth was. But he's never been married. There are a lot of people like that at the early stage of their life, they call them late bloomers. At the early stage of their life, they just focus on work. They're very particular about serving God. They're very particular about just giving themselves holistically to God, to the service, to their purpose. And it's just about work for them until probably later, maybe in their late 30s, early 40s, and then they decide, you know what? Now that I'm diligent at my work, marriage is the next thing for me. Obviously, I think that Boaz is a good man, is a kind man, but he was also giving her, rates and everything. Like, yeah, don't worry about it, girl. I got you. I'm thinking that back in those days, it's not gonna be like, come here, I like you, I think I love you, you have sexy, nothing like that. Nothing like today that, everything is, overtly sexual, and everything for men in this generation boils down to looks and just, oh, is she hot? Does she have big this? Does she have big that? Does she have slim this? Does she have flat that? It's so perverse now that when it comes to the issue of marriage for a lot of people, I want to go ahead and say that our Christian brothers are not like that. But for, generally speaking, it usually boils down to, is she cute? Is she a fine girl? Is she this, she's that, just a physical attraction. But the Bible made us understand here that was not the beginning of the relationship of Boaz and Ruth. It was more so that he took a liking to the fact that she gave herself to love a mother-in-law and to cater for a mother-in-law, and that she has a good character. And a lot of people in the community can attest to the fact that she's a good lady. When she came to her mother-in-law, she said, "Is that you, my daughter?" Then she keeps calling her my daughter. I love that. Like I said, it's a prayer that I pray in my heart, and I believe God for it. And I know that because the Bible says that God will grant the desires of my heart. I want a mother-in-law that will see me as a daughter. Because I have made up my mind that when I'm married into a family, I want to, be the daughter there. I want to give myself. I want to be kind. I want to treat them nicely, the way I would have treated my own family, the way I would love my siblings. I would love my husband's siblings like that. But ultimately, I would love for me to have a good relationship with my mother-in-law so much that she will see me as her own daughter. These 6 ephahs of barley she gave me, for he said to me, do not go empty-handed to your mother-in-law. Then she said, sit still, my daughter, until you know how the matter will turn out, for the man will not rest until he has concluded the matter this day. This is such a prayer point. I'm going to read that to you again. Then she said, sit still, my daughter, until you know how this matter will turn out. For the man will not rest until he has concluded the matter this day. That woman, that is a word of a woman of faith and deep understanding. That you know what? It is at this point, now you have positioned yourself. You have good recommendation with this man. And you have done exactly what I have asked you to do. You sit here with me and wait. You wait. Don't worry about it. Leave it be. I think that this is something that will, something that I actually believe in. I don't think that it is scriptural for a woman to pursue a man. for any reason whatsoever, I don't know what the situation is, but all the love stories I've read in the Bible, all the biblical pathways to marriage that I've read in the Bible, it's always the other way around. It's the man that chase after the woman. It's the man that go after the woman. Even the Bible says that he who finds a wife, it's not he who finds a husband, which means that it is not your job as a woman to be the one who chases after a man. It is not your job to go after the man. Look at what Naomi said to Ruth, that you know what, go there, sit. That's positioning. Sit there. There is no desperation. There is no actor. There is no seduction. There is none of that. Just be there. Do this, do that. Wisdom. And after she has done that, leave it be. Just come back and just wait. And she gave her daughter-in-law a word of assurance that, believe me, that man will not rest until he has concluded this matter. That level of confidence, don't worry about it. You have positioned yourself, you have done greatly well as a child, as a daughter. At this point, it's up to the man. If he wants you, it will come for you. If he doesn't want you, so be it. But at the end of the day, sit with me and watch. Now Boaz went up to the gate and sat there, and behold, the close relative of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, come aside, friend, sit here. So he came aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of elders of the city and said, sit down. So they sat down. And he said to the close relative, Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, sold the piece of the land which belonged to our brother Elimelech. And I thought to inform you, saying, buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants. What a wise man. You can tell the way he handles business that he's a very intelligent businessman. He's telling the extended family that, you know, the land that belonged to Elimelech, that Naomi has sold, I think we should buy it back so that it stays in the family. And I thought to inform you, buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me that I may know. For there is no one but you to redeem it. And I am next after you. And he said, I will redeem it. Then Boaz said, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also buy it from Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to perpetuate the name of the dead through the inheritance. And the close relative said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I ruin my own inheritance. You redeem my right of redemption for yourself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the custom in former times in Israel concerning redeeming the exchange and exchanging to confirm anything. One man took off his sandal and gave it to the other, and this was a confirmation in Israel. Like, that's the way they broker a deal. They broker like real estate. Therefore, the close relative said to Boaz, buy it for yourself. So he took off his sandal, like without hesitation, because he knows what it means that, you know, when I have that inheritance, that inherently means that, you know, he owns everything. And Boaz said to the elders and all the people, you are my witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's. I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Shilian's and Mahlon's from the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth, the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon. Oh, wow. Okay, apparently my mistake. I had said earlier that, okay, up until now, the Bible didn't actually, okay, so it was not my mistake. But up until now, the Bible didn't inherently tell us which of the Moabite women married which of the sons of Naomi. But now here, the Bible is letting us know who married who. Moreover, Ruth, the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, I have acquired as my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brethren and from his position at the gate. You're my witness this day. And all the people who were at the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman who is coming to your house like Rachel and Leah, the two who built the house of Israel. And may you prosper in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. May your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring of the Lord will give you from this young woman. I love this. So the Bible is giving us detail of how he made his intention known. So he didn't jump the gun. He didn't just assume that because she works for me and because I'm taking care of her, because I'm being nice to her, that's just, you know, that just translates the fact that she belongs to me. No, he did the right thing. He gathered the elders of, their family and let them know his intention that, what, now that I've, paid for this inheritance and I now own it from these people, he did the right thing. He took all the steps that they were supposed to take traditionally to own the property and then to make his intention known that he wants to be married to Ruth. And so Boaz took Ruth and she became his wife. And when he went in with her, the Lord gave her conception and she bore a son. And the women said to Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a close relative, and may his name be famous in Israel. And may he be to you a restorer of life, and a nourisher of your old age, and for your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons. Then Naomi took the child and laid him on her bosom and became a nurse to him. Also, the neighbor women gave him a name, saying, "There is a son born to Naomi," and they call his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. So that makes Ruth the great grandmother of David. So this is oh my God, this is such a beautiful story. I can read this story over and over and over again. First of all, it's a really short book in the Bible, and it's a story. It's a story that is very touching. It started tragically, unfortunately. Naomi losing her 2 sons and a husband, and having to rely on a daughter-in-law who followed her from Moab, a foreign land, to Bethlehem to cater to her, to take care of her. And now God didn't just God didn't just restore all that Naomi has lost. God also gave Ruth beautiful ashes. God, and I always said this, that God writes the most beautiful love stories. You can try to do it your way. You can go ahead and, find a man, find a guy, and, boy meets girl, boy like girl, girl like boy, and just do it your way. I am not criticizing you. I'm just saying that the wise thing to do is to trust God, your creator. Let him be the one who writes your story. Let him be the one who beautifies your life. The moment you give your life to God, the moment you surrender your life to Christ, the moment you have decided that you no longer have a will of your own or a desire of your own, and that you want to trust God to be the author and the finisher of your life and faith, you become the responsibility of God from that point to take care of you, everything that concerns you. Remember when Jesus, spoke to Peter, and wanted to call Peter to be one of his disciples. He said, "Come, follow me, and I will make you." The moment you decide to follow God and you yield your life to him, that moment you become God's responsibility to make you, to perfect all that concerns you, from giving you a good life to giving you joy to it gives you everything. It's God, is your creator. He wants to give you everything pertaining to life and godliness. And if you are, let's say, a widow and you're listening to me and you have, I have such a sympathy for people who have unfortunately loved and lost. I believe that it's I don't know what that feels like. I don't know the burden, the emotion that comes with that level of loss and tragedy. There was a day that an older friend of mine said to me, she lost her dad when she was young. She said that she was having a conversation with her mom, and her mom said to her that when you all go to sleep, when you leave the house and you go be with your boyfriends and you're hanging out with your friends and everything, and you share your thoughts and your burden with people that you love, I'm at home by myself. Who do you think I talk to? Who do you think comfort me? Who do you think I share my life with? Just me. It's just me. I'm trying to encourage you, whether you're a widow or I don't know what your story is. I just want to encourage you today that go and read the story of Ruth and see how God can make perfection out of nothing. See how God can write the most beautiful story out of a tragedy. See how God can turn darkness into light. See how God can turn darkness into light. How God can, no matter how much your weeping may endure, how joy can come in the morning for you. I have hope. I have faith in God that can happen for you as well. Don't lose hope. Trust in God. I don't know where you are in your life right now, but I put it to you that wherever no matter how far gone you think you are, God have you in mind. He wants to help you. He wants to lift your burden. He wants to make you happy again. He wants to give you joy again. He wants to give you companion again. Ruth was, a widow. Her mother-in-law was a widow. And look at the way God just turned everything around for them. God ended up giving her, as a wife to a man, a wealthy man, a kind man, a great man of faith, a good man of God. And I believe that can happen for you as well. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and share, and leave a comment. I would really appreciate it if you let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions or questions, or if there's any story that you have any questions about, leave it in the comments. I'm happy to read, from you if you're a listener. And I just really want to thank you so much. If you listened thus far, I really appreciate your time. It means a lot to me. Thank you for your time. I love you. I appreciate you. And I hope that this story that I've shared today has blessed you in a kind of way. I hope so, truly, because it's a story that, touched me. It's a story of love and redemption and passion, and how much God think about us and how much passion and love God have in his heart for us. I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a good one. Bye, love.